Greetings, salutations, respect and love. I am Scott, and you, my dear friends, have wandered onto the Prog Corner. And today, man, yeah, today's going to be a fun episode. This comes courtesy one of my members, Alume Eltonen, requested this episode, and I was going to just put it on just for members only, but she's like, hey, let's send it out to the world and educate them about what was happening in the 70s, man. Everybody was going prog, prog was absolutely in every single corner of the music world in the 70s. We've talked about bands like the Grateful Dead, how they did Terrapin Station, and Cat Stevens with his Foreigner Suite. And then later on, even Kiss got into the game with The Elder. Bands like Bad Religion, hey, their second album was a straight up prog album. How about that Canadian punk band whose name I will not say since I don't curse on the channel, but their incredible album, David Comes to Life, that is prog, man. So we have been, used to hearing prog in weird places that we didn't expect. But the one place I didn't expect to hear prog was with the Osmond brothers, man. These cats obviously grew up in Utah. They had Mormon parents. There were 9 of them, man. Verl and Tom were the 2 oldest, and they had a hearing impairment, both of them. So the 4 next oldest brothers, they decided that they were going to start a musical band to help pay for some, medical treatments for the 2 older brothers. So you have Alan, Wayne, Merrill, and Jay. Those are the 4 main guys. They formed in 1958, and they started doing, a bunch of stuff. But it didn't really start happening until they added Donnie into the group. Later on, Jimmy Osmond and Marie Osmond would be a part of it. And then as we get on to later years, David and Nathan, who are Alan's sons, joined in. But, concurrent with the Osmonds, Donnie had his own little solo career where he's doing songs like Sweet and Innocent and Go Away Little Girl and Puppy Love and Too Young. Marie had a #1 hit with Paper Roses. Jimmy was doing solo stuff with the long-haired lover from Liverpool. These guys got their break when they were on vacation. They went to Disneyland and they just started singing with the Dapper Dans on Main Street, and some cat that worked for Andy Williams discovered them. They started on TV with something called Disney After Dark. Then they went on to the Andy Williams show. They later on went on to the Jerry Lewis show. And then at some point, somebody said, hey, man, we need to put Donnie in the band. They put a few albums out as the Osmond Brothers. But in 1970, they dropped their debut album as Osmonds. It has the incredible #1 hit, One Bad Apple's on here. Look at them, man. They're not even the Osmonds. They're Osmonds at this point. They were really trying to break free of the, from the past and all the stuff they were doing before. So that's their first album. In 1971, they dropped their second album, Homemade. Not quite as good. There were no hits on here. This hit number 22 on the Billboard charts, and it's fine. It carries on some of that bubblegum type of stuff that they were doing. But then, man, something weird happened, man. 1972, they dropped 2 amazing albums, starting with Phase 3. The boys obviously wanted to, do something a little bit more serious, so they're playing their own instruments, and 5 of these songs were written by the boys, so they're starting to get some independence. Later on that year, Donnie does a Puppy Love, and, he's just a superstar. But then in 72, they dropped this one, man. Crazy Horses. This album is so good. The title track is just insane. Ozzy Osbourne's covered it. The Neil Morris Band's covered it. Mike Portnoy's a big fan. This is a great, great, great record. I absolutely adore it. They wrote all the songs on here. They play all the instruments on here. Just a dynamite record. So what do you do when you put out your masterpiece? Well, you take it to the next step, man, and you put out a prog rock concept album about the Mormon Church called The Plan. This dropped in 1973. It didn't do great. It only hit number 58. But if you think about, what kind of a risk this band took. They were on top of the world to put out a prog rock concept album about the Church of the Latter-day Saints is just absolutely nuts. Look at that artwork. It's beautiful. Excellent packaging. They definitely put some money on here. This is a huge risk for the band, and it didn't do well, man. It was a failure for them. But the elders at the Church of the Latter-day Saints were very happy about it. In fact, they were exempted from doing missionary work because of that album in particular. And what I heard in my research is that during that time frame from 1971 to 1975, when the Osmonds were kind of on top of the world, they had their best recruiting years ever. People were just flocking into the Church of the Latter-day Saints. They were such great representatives of that wholesome living and all that kind of stuff. So at about the point that this album and Crazy Horses were coming out, Donnie's voice had changed. So they had to make some radical changes. The first 4 albums, you had a whole bunch of Donnie Osmond singing lead. Donnie and Merrill kind of trading vocals. On the Plan, it's pretty much all Merrill, a little bit of Wayne, and I think Alan even sings one song on here. And here's something I didn't know about Donnie Osmond. He's a ham radio operator, KA7EVD, Echo Victor Delta, if you ever want to get on your amateur radio and try to talk to him. Yeah, so The Plan, man, I love this album. I really do. I've always loved The Plan. All these songs were written by Alan, Wayne, and Merrill, the 3 oldest guys. Jay was the drummer in the band. Donnie played keyboards, but really he's not doing a whole lot on The Plan. He gets no lead vocal turns on here, which is kind of strange. But yeah, let's talk about the music and why this is prog. Well, we're going to determine if it's prog or not, but it starts out with the War in Heaven, which is an instrumental, which really sets the tone. It's really atmospheric and foreboding, and something big's coming. Then you get the first track, the first real rock number. It's called Traffic in My Mind. It's like a blues rock song that Merrill's singing. It definitely sounds like an old Savoy Brown track or something like that. Next up is Before the Beginning, and it starts out beautifully with a string quartet, and it kind of turns into more like a Queen-style piano ballad, but it's beautiful. Movie Man is so cool. Somebody said it sounded a little like Gentle Giant. I hear more like, I don't know, maybe 10cc, maybe mixed in with some vaudeville kind of music. It's really fun. A ballad follows called Let Me In, which is just gorgeous. Man, yeah, I know it's a little dated listening to the string arrangements and stuff, but you got to keep in mind that Alan was dating Karen Carpenter right before this album came out. So it kind of makes sense that this album does sound a little like the Carpenters at times. But yeah, Let Me In, one of the 2 songs released as a single. Neither one did anything at all. Next up is a really cool glam rock song called One Way Ticket to Anywhere. And this could be Sweet or one of those kind of bands. There's so much cowbell going on in this song. It's a lot of fun. Next up is a track called Are You Up There? And this is, kind of like the garden where, Jesus is asking to, have the cup not pass from his lips or whatever that was. This is kind of the same thing where the protagonist is, all alone and he's looking for comfort or whatever. Next up is a rock tune called It's All Right. It's kind of slight, but it does point to what the Osmonds have been doing this whole time with their stage shows and all that. Then you get the weirdest song on the album, man. I just love it. It's called Mirror, Mirror. It's like a country song in 10/8. It makes no sense. It's just, I can imagine Osmond fans buying this album and listening to that song and scratching their head and saying, what in the world's going on with my boys? Next up is an absolute perfect pop, Baroque pop song like you might hear the Beach Boys or something do. This was a song written by Marilyn. It's called Darlin', and it's the only song that kind of doesn't fit the flow of the album. It is just a straight up love song that he wrote for his wife Mary. But if you think about it, the Mormon Church is really into hetero marriage. It's a big part of, their belief system and everything. So I guess a love song does make sense. And then you get to the last two songs, which really bring it home. Man, The Last Days is just such a great rock tune. Kind of Crazy Horses Part 2, but it's a whole lot of fun. And then the album ends with another single that did absolutely nothing called Going Home, and it's a great rock track, a lot of fun, a little glammy again at times, kind of a dirty rock song, but I just love how it fades down, and at the end you hear him talking about, don't take it too easy. The Eagles had just dropped their first album. Take It Easy was a big hit. So, the boys are telling you right at the end of this album not to take it too easy, which is kind of cool in a way. But after the plan, and it was a bomb. It didn't do any good. So they tried to right the ship on their next album, 1974's Love Me For a Reason. I didn't care for it. It was the return of Mike Curb and his production, so it was a little sappier, and the boys weren't writing and they weren't playing all the instruments and whatnot. And then 1975, the Proud One came out, and it only hit 160, and it was basically over for the Osmonds. Or was it? Yeah, 1976 comes around, and the very last of the great variety TV shows, Donnie and Marie, aired from 1976 to 1979. There were 78 episodes. It was like the last of the surviving shows with that variety format. Donnie, of course, went on to be a big old star, doing stuff like Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and winning Dancing with the Stars and coming in second place on The Masked Singer. But the Osmonds get a whole lot of crap. And I get it, man. That bubblegum stuff they were doing earlier isn't really to my taste. But man, Phase 3, Crazy Horses, and most especially The Plan. I've been listening to a lot of music with a lot of great harmonies lately. DiVirgilio, Morrison Jennings, Moon Safari. If you like great vocal harmonies, man, you can't do a whole lot better than the Osmonds, man. I'm telling you, check out The Plan. It's a really cool record. Is it prog, though? We look at any concept album as being prog almost by default. The whole idea of a concept album is the proggiest of all ideas. And if you look at the greatest concept albums of all time, they're all prog, every single one of them. So yeah, absolutely. I'm going to call the Osmonds prog, and The Plan is their prog masterpiece. It's a fun album. I like every single song. The ballads are gorgeous, albeit a little dated. The rockers are fun. Again, it's the early 70s and it sounds like it, but what a great record. What a lot of fun. And thank you, Alume Eltonen, for requesting this episode. If you are a member of the Laid Brigade, either the connoisseur level or the aficionado level, I don't care. You then have the right to tell me what to do, and I have no choice but to comply. So yeah, this is the first in a series of members episodes that hopefully we'll be able to do a lot more of this kind of stuff, because I love the Osmonds and you guys know it. But anyway, tomorrow I have no idea what I'm doing. Absolutely not. I'm working on a bunch of stuff all at the same time, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, peace in the Middle East, free Tibet, God save the king, and God save Donny Osmond. That's right. Donny likes to spend a lot of time over there. Osmond Mania hit UK hard. He performed in front of the Queen in 1972. Yes, he did. But Chucky needs some saving. That boy's got cancer. We need thoughts and prayers for Chucky the Third. I'll see you guys soon. I love you. Peace.